Hi, everyone. I'm here to answer your questions about the Little School of Big Change. Get situated here. So, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for checking this out. And thank you guys so much, really, for everything over the past week. This is usually the point when I start crying, but I'm not going to today because I'm just not going to today. But it's usually the last day of enrollment when I do these Q&A sessions. Hi, Sharon. And I've been up all night, all week, and I'm just spent, and I get a little emotional. But I'm not there yet. What is this, Wednesday afternoon? I'm good. So we're just going to answer some questions. If you're coming out at any point and you have anything at all that you want to know about the Little School of Big Change, pop it in the comments. I will answer every single question you can think to ask. I do have not quite a few. I have a handful, of half a paper full of questions hi Jenny, that have been sent, and they tend to be the common ones. So, this time's no different than any others. I kind of know, what a lot of people ask, but there are a couple kind of new ones. So I'm going to go through some of these that I know are common questions that people have asked this week and last week. And again, if you hear anything you want to hear more about, or if you came here with a specific question, go ahead and put it in that comment box and I will get to it, and nothing's off limits. If it's inappropriate, I just won't answer it, but there's never any inappropriate questions. It's not that kind of school. So, okay, so let me start with some of these that are here. Well, first, let me say, before I even get to the questions, let me just remind you that the school, a little bit about the format and the enrollment and all that. So enrollment does close tomorrow, Thursday, September 26th. We say midnight Eastern time. That's when I kind of finally go to bed on that night. But sometimes the cart's open for a couple hours after that, but definitely by like Thursday night. Consider that whatever Thursday night is for you, wherever in the world you are, consider that the end, okay? That's kind of when the enrollment closes. Definitely by the time I wake up on the East Coast-ish, East Coast time zone on Friday, we've turned everything over. And at that point, what you can do, if the school is not for you this time around, if it's not for you at all, you can become a free member. And that option will be available. Hi, Karen. That option will be available back on the page at that point. This week, that option's not there because everything's just about enrolling for right now. So again, the deadline for that is tomorrow, Thursday, the 26th. By the time you go to bed at night, get in there if you want to get in for this fall course. And the school will not be open again. I'll run it again in March. I believe it's going to happen like mid-March of 2020. So that's kind of the way it goes, a fall and a spring class every year. And like I always say, do what feels right for you, obviously. But when people are kind of on the fence, like, should I join now? Like, I think March might be a little bit clearer in my schedule, or it might be a slightly better time or whatever. I mean, do what feels best to you. I don't see this school going away anytime soon, that's for sure. But what I kind of lean toward, if it's doable for you, is getting in when you want to get in, like getting in now, because here's the thing. Everything in the school, all of the lessons, all of the content, all these short little video lessons that walk you through this understanding that I've designed to kind of take you from, let's assume we know nothing about how life works, to a pretty advanced feel for how life works. All of that content, it includes video lessons from me. There are animations that teach these points and share things. There are conversations with my colleagues like Dr. Bill Pettit, Michael Neal, people like that, conversations with them in there. It's all designed to walk you through this, and all of that is yours for life. Once it's open, we unlock it kind of block by block throughout the school. But once it's open to you and you're in there, you have it forever. So people who joined the school 2.5 years ago when it first opened, they still have that content and they can go back and watch it. And many of them do anytime they want for as long as they want. So that's one thing. It's like, well, why wait? Again, if it's you do what's best for you. But But if you're kind of on the fence and you're like, well, that might be better, I would think, do it when it appeals to you. Do it when you kind of are excited and really could benefit from it, knowing that you're going to have it forever. So you do what you can in September, October, November of 2019. But hey, maybe over the holidays you have a big block of time where you can really re-immerse in it again. Or maybe, in January or February or whatever. So you can always do that. The way that the content works in the school is that when you first enroll, you'll get the first hour or so of content right away. So there's stuff to dive into immediately. People are diving into it. They're already having insights and sharing them on our forum. You get access to our forum right away. So you go there, introduce yourself, and you take in the content at whatever pace, in whatever way you'd like. And then you get support if you want it or need it. You ask questions, you're in conversation about it right away. And then for the next 6 weeks, every Friday, another roughly hour or so of content is opened up. So you kind of keep building on it. But it's opened up on Friday, but you don't have to watch it on Friday. I mean, again, once it's opened, it's yours. You own it. It's yours for life. So some people stay really up on the course. As soon as the new content's open, they watch it right away and they come to the calls having seen it. Other people don't. Like, life happens and things happen, or they just prefer to binge watch it all at another time, or however they want to do it. And that's totally, totally fine. There's no right or wrong way to do it. The right way to do it is the way that you're going to do it, the way that is relaxed for you, that allows you to kind of take it in with an open mind and not feeling rushed and all that kind of good stuff. So there's absolutely no rigid timeline or rush on any of it. You do what feels right to you. So after the content is released, again, roughly an hour each Friday throughout the course, and then an hour when you first enroll this week. Next week, we start having our calls. And so we have 2 90-minute calls every single week throughout the course. So there's a lot of calls, 11, I think, total. We're skipping one this session. It's usually one we have to skip because I'm traveling or for some reason. This time we're skipping it on Halloween. But otherwise, every single Tuesday and Thursday throughout the course, there are 90-minute calls. And those calls are really where everything happens. I live for these calls. That's where everything really happens, because you've watched whatever you can watch of that week's content. And again, if you haven't watched it yet, still come to the call, because it's not like I quiz you on it. It's not like, it's not like you have to have, it's not like learning math where it's like, oh, if you miss the last lesson, you're going to be totally lost on this lesson, or learning French or something like that. It doesn't work that way. It's like you take in what you take in when you take it in, and it all comes back around. There's a lot that's repetitive by nature. So we keep seeing the same things over and over more deeply. So if you haven't gotten to that week's content yet, or you've only watched part of it, there's no reason to not come to the call or listen to the call, because it doesn't go in a linear timeline like that. So on those calls, I share, some things maybe from the lessons to take that deeper for you, just knowing and having done this so often, knowing kind of where everyone's head is for the most part, and helping you go deeper and kind of take in what you're seeing from the content. Also responding to what's on the forum. So our forum gets super active. There's a lot of people that we call them lurkers, that just read on the forum and don't really share, and that's totally fine. They get so much out of just kind of observing the conversation and the interaction. Others are, like they're just in there all the time, commenting and sharing and all kinds of things. So with this forum constantly open, I'm able to really see, okay, this is where people are getting a little stuck, or this is what's really landing for people, or this is what I think they could stand to hear a little more explanation around, or however that goes, right? So that's how our calls often start, is like, let's look at this a different way, guys. And then we kind of explore that. And then we turn it over to you. And for as long as we have, you raise your hand and you ask questions, and you ask for support, and you say, hey, I'm confused here, or I need some coaching around this, or I think I have a blind spot because I don't get it, or whatever it is. And I mean, that's what I do. I've been coaching for, I don't know, like 15 years or something like that. So That's what I love doing. That's what I do. I like talk one-on-one with you, and I help you see, oh, like I just, get in there and find out what's holding you back from really seeing this more and more deeply. And in all of the calls, so let me stick with the format, all of the calls are recorded. So again, if you can't make them live, almost no one comes to every single 90-minute call and stays on the whole thing live. People do, and that's great if you can, but it's not part of what's expected here at all, because everything's recorded, it's posted right away. You can listen to those recordings multiple times whenever it's good for you. We have people, I've been saying 36 countries forever, but now I think it's up to like almost 40 already. We have people from almost 40 countries around the world in the school. So it's very much designed to be a community and a course, but also to have that flexibility so that you can take in things on your own. And, I've had people from Hong Kong and Singapore and all kinds of places where the calls are literally at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning for them. And some people will set no try to come to at least a couple, which is awesome. But a lot of people, they just listen to those recordings and then they interact on the forum if they want to. And I've really looked into this like extensively because I want to make this the best experience for people all over the place that I can. And time again, they say, I got a ton out of it. I don't see, and I really question some of these people, and I don't see anything that's necessary yet. Like the people who go through it on the same timing as the rest of the group, wonderful. People who don't, they still get a lot too. So, and I'm looking for that, right? I'm looking for, does it matter if you're on the call live? Does it matter if you do this or that? And none of those logistical things so far seem to matter. What does matter, what does kind of make that difference between people who get an absolute ton out of it and people who get just a little bit out of it, because honestly, almost everybody, pretty much everybody gets a lot out of it. But the ones who are like, whoa, this changed my life. I mean, if I see anything, this is in the school, this is even with coaching, it's across the board. It's this, I don't want to say ability, but I don't know what other word to use. It's this way of showing up where they are open and they're setting everything that they think they already understand, everything they think they've already learned, everything they know about themselves or why they have their habits or this understanding or any of that, they leave it at the door. And I love when I see people do that because I know they are going to see a ton. It's not that it doesn't come up. It's not that it doesn't help sometimes and deepen and inform what you're learning now. It does. So if you've had some exposure to this, or even if you've just listened to my podcast or something like that, and you have a bit of a sense of how things work, that's awesome. But you can still leave it at the door. Like, you can still show up fresh and what I sometimes say dumb. People don't like that, but show up dumb. You just show up like, what's going on here? I don't know anything. I'm just here to soak it all in. And that's the place, honestly, that's the place where what you have seen and what you do know, it comes up and it combines with this fertile ground, this brand new open mind, totally open mind that's open to hearing anything. And big stuff happens. Like people really start to see things in a different way from that place. So that's the number one thing across the board that I think makes such a huge difference for people and helps them make the most of this course and this understanding and this experience. Nothing logistical, nothing about making calls or times or any of that kind of stuff. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to mention about now versus later is that many people go through the school multiple times. And so once you've been through once and you've paid the full price once and gone through the whole 6-week course experience once, every time the school opens down the road, you have the opportunity to go through at a very, very huge discount. It's very affordable to go through again and again and again. So just want to toss that out. It's another reason why, and I don't take for granted. I'm not saying, I understand it's money, it's an investment, but I'm just, if it's possible for you, if it's doable for you, you can always do it now, and then you can do it again for a very low cost as many times as you want in the future. And that's so helpful. I mean, what people see the second, third, and fourth time around is pretty cool. And it really speaks to the fact that people see so much these subsequent times through, really speaks to the fact that this isn't about learning facts. It's not about remembering anything. It's not about memorizing anything. It's not about paying a ton of close attention. It's not about having your full concentration. It's none of that. It's opening yourself to just kind of get a feel for how things work. When you watch me on the lessons, when we're chatting on the group calls, when you're starting to see people kind of open things up, things open up for them, you're kind of just getting a feel for like, whoa, how did that happen? Or whoa, what does that mean? But I say that with like, it's like a softness. It's not, what does that mean? And how did that happen? It's soft, and it's just getting a sense for where we're coming from and what we're seeing. That's been so helpful. So already people are, and all the time, people are understandably concerned about, well, I'm on medication and I don't have a ton of focus, or I have ADHD, or I have a, brain injury or whatever. And I tell you, I mean, this understanding isn't intellectual. And the proof of it is the fact that it has helped so many people that haven't had the intellect, or just haven't had that capacity to like focus and pay attention and learn all those traditional ways that we think we need to learn. You don't learn this that way. It's not that kind of thing, which is beautiful, because you can be riddled with anxiety, you can be on medication, you can have anything going on, and you can hear something really amazing in this. I just want to mention, Patricia said that she never made a call live, and this understanding changed her life. And I love that. She's been on my podcast as an example of someone who's been so helped by this. And I didn't know, Patricia, that you were never on a call live, but see, that's how it goes. Eve, I'll get to your question in just a minute. So yeah, so that's just a little bit again about when to go through if this time isn't right, blah, blah, blah. And how to best kind of hear this and just know, it isn't about setting aside focused time and taking notes or any of that. You can take it in like that if you want, but it really goes deeper than that. Okay, so the biggest question across the board, there's two big questions. The first biggest question across the board everyone always asks is something along the lines of, will this help me with fill in the blank? And or, this is very related, how is it that a single course, we're all going through the same course together, how is it that one course could help that person with OCD and this person with just kind of a little worry habit, worrying a lot, and this person quit smoking, and that person quit hoarding things or shopping too much or whatever? Like, people are understandably curious and intrigued by that. And this is what it's all about. This is the beauty in this. It's not about how life is showing up for us. It's not about, now it is about how life is showing up for us, but it's not about those specific details. This whole understanding that is the best thing I've ever seen in my life, and I've studied a lot of things. This whole understanding goes deeper than those specific thoughts, specific feelings, specific actions, specific behaviors or habits or issues or any of that. It goes deeper, and it gives you a solid understanding for how your experience works through you. So not like, how do I quit this or how do I quit that? Things change, like we quit those things, or they look different, they fall away, like all that change happens, but that's kind of like way up here. So it's not like if you've seen the change series videos, you know about the iceberg, right? So it's not that we're up here at the tip of the iceberg saying, I have to quit smoking, I have to quit buying so much stuff. We're lower, we're beneath the surface of it, and we're seeing, oh, this is what's going on when I feel really in my head. This is what's going on when I feel really peaceful. this is why sometimes all I can think about is food or my habit or whatever it is, anxiety, worry. And other times nothing has changed and I feel totally at ease and I wonder, where did it go? This understanding that I share explains that. It gives a framework for it. It gives us grounding in how we work. And like I said on the webinars this week, that is incredibly simplifying. Like, it takes so much off our minds. If you think about anything you're struggling with, there's what you're doing and what you're thinking and all that, kind of what you're feeling and all that stuff. But on top of that, there's also this layer of, why am I doing that? And what's going to happen if I keep doing it? And how do I stop? And why does this person not do it, but I do? There's all that thinking about what's happening. And that is key, because as we see from the bottom up how our experience works, we don't have those questions anymore. You don't think like, whoa, why did I think that? And where did that come from? And what can I do to make this feeling go away? We clear that up. Like, we are giving an understanding of us as spiritual and psychological creatures and how our moment-to-moment experience comes to life within us. All moment-to-moment experience, whether it's habit, anxiety, depression related, problem related, or anything, or just the way you just feel neutral sometimes, the way you feel excited sometimes. It really is like a blueprint. I talk about this in the first video of the core curriculum. It's like a map. It's like going somewhere and having a really, really, really good map to get you through. You just follow the map. Like, you just get a sense for the direction of things. And it's so vague, I know, when I'm saying it like this, but it just has this way of simplifying, quieting our minds, and just helping us know we can just move through life one foot in front of the other, and so much is taken care of for us that we don't have to worry about. And when you're not in your head wondering why you thought that, or why you did this, or how it's going to go away and all that, already there's so much less need for habits. Like, what are we numbing? What are we just distracting from if our mind is quiet? When we see that our feelings aren't dangerous, and and not just as a cliche, but we truly see where feeling comes from, where emotion comes from, where moods come from. Like, we see it in a way that's super clear. We're not afraid of it, and we're not trying to run away and do things to hide from it or avoid it in quite the same way. So it's beautiful in that way. The power in this is the answer to that question. How is it that you're helping people with, depression and anxiety and addiction and this and that, and just maybe like confusion in life or wanting a better career or whatever? Like, well, because we go deeper than all that. And beyond the surface, just beneath the surface of all that stuff, you're all exactly the same, and you're all exactly like me, and we are all just alike. And it's not complicated. It's truly not complicated. It's incredibly simple when you kind of see how things work at that level, beneath all this crazy complexity on the surface of what our psychology tells us. So I love it. I love it. It's the coolest thing in the world, honestly. I mean, the only hard thing about that fact is that it confuses people, that people get skeptical, and they think like, no, I need to go to a specialist for my problem, and I need to talk about my past personally, one-on-one on a couch for this long. And that's okay. I mean, I think that whole tide is turning anyway, but it's so understandable that it looks that way. That's the only downfall, is that that's kind of the current model still. So there's a little education to help people see, no, actually, if we look at how all humans work, is a lot easier and a lot simpler and way more effective. And there's so much good in that, because look, I mean, I get to talk with all of you and all the thousands of people who have been through the school, and have a real shot at making an impact that matters to every single one of them, no matter what they're up against, by having this same simple conversation. It's pretty awesome. So that's kind of the biggest question. Will this help me with blank, or how can it help so many people with all these different things? And that's my answer. Let me see. Okay, talked about that. Okay, so here's the second. I said there were two big questions. Here's the second big question. I put out a lot of stuff, especially in the last 2 weeks, and I apologize if you're sick of me. I know I put out a lot of content, even like year-round. I'm very passionate about this, and I have a lot of energy for this, so I put out a lot of stuff. So I have a podcast. I no longer have a weekly blog, although sometimes I still write stuff and put it out. Whatever. I'm all over the place. And thankfully, people listen to that sometimes, and they totally understandably think, why would I pay $500 for this 6-week course? Sure, I'm guided through it, and sure, Amy's in there, whatever. But when I can just go on YouTube and listen to her for 6 weeks, or I can just download, subscribe to her podcast and listen to that for 6 weeks or whatever. And the answer is that please take in the free stuff as much as you want. And if $500 is completely out of the question for you, take in the free stuff, please. That's why it's there. But the school is different. It is completely different, really, than watching a one-off video or listening to a podcast episode. There's so much we can see and get from these little conversations and these little blips here and there. But if you really kind of want to deepen in this and really kind of take it in the most simple, efficient, fast way possible, I believe, that's what a course like this is designed for. So you can listen to podcasts, mine and other people's, and videos forever, and you will hear some stuff, no question. That could change a life, just that alone. But in my experience, it took a while because, some things are hit or miss. They don't really go in an order. It's just sort of conversation here and there. What this school is it's designed for someone who wants this experience of being guided by me through the video lessons and the content, but also me live in the course, helping you around what you might not be seeing. Being guided through this from beginning to, there's no end, but the end of our course. So I created this course. I've talked about this elsewhere, but I created this course as if I was writing a book. I cleared my schedule. I did, this was a few years ago now, but cleared everything for 6 months and really said, okay, from all the clients I've worked with up until that point, I'm going to just imagine really put myself in the shoes of some who came in and just were really caught up in stuff and didn't really know anything about how life works, or where they were full of misunderstanding about how our experience works. And I'm going to have them in mind and create something that takes them from day one, from step one, and walks them through this little by little by little. And so that's what the Little School of Big Change does. It starts off with, hey, what if everything that you think you know about how you work is wrong? What if? That's the mindset to come in with. What if? Like I said earlier, let's leave all that other stuff at the door just for a few weeks. It's not going anywhere. But for a few weeks, let's leave it out there. And what if there's a whole other way to see and experience life? And there is. What if there is? And what if you open yourself to that just for this short period of time in this little container with my support? And then we go through, hey, here's how life looks. We think stuff, we feel stuff, it looks so real, it looks so true, we get caught up in it, we have had, goes into how it looks like our experience works, how our experience feels, how it appears, how the world looks and appears as if we're seeing it as it is, like how we're a fish in water in our own experience all the time, even when you know this, all the time, because that's our design. So it walks you through that. And as you start to see around a lot of that, it begins to open up to the really big questions of, okay, now that you're not so caught up in believing all your experience, now that you're feeling some freedom and some lightness, and some things are starting to loosen up and fall away in terms of habits and moods and all that good stuff. Now, what's there beyond this psychological experience? And that's the advanced curriculum. And that advanced curriculum is no joke. It's advanced and it's awesome, and it's not the end by any stretch. But we go in 6 short weeks from stepping into this cold ocean to really like swimming in the deep end, you know, and it's beautiful. And that's the experience that you get, that's created for you. And it's very different, obviously. Hopefully now that I say that, you can see very, very different from listening to random videos or podcasts. Plus I'm there for better or worse. No, it's helpful to have someone show you, you know. So often where we hear something, it's helpful, but then our mind does something with it. We talk about this all the time in the school. Our mind starts saying, well, I think it should have been that way, or I don't know if that was a real insight, or that person had a different experience. And we make this stuff up and we don't even realize we've made it up. That's why me and Amanda and Terry, coaches that I've worked with, are in there trained to spot that. Like I see it from 20 miles away when someone's in their head in a blind spot. And we don't see it. I can't see my own blind spots. I need other people to show me mine, and that's what we all need. So that's the benefit of having the support in there. Okay. Yes, so 2 more big questions. And again, if you're here and have questions, go right ahead and post them for me. Hi, Lisa. Thanks. I'm glad you like the book. All right. So one of the other big questions I get all the time is, I've been around this understanding for a while. I've done other courses, maybe read other books, you know, again, listen to other stuff. How is this different? Now that one is hard for me to answer in some ways, because I have also been around this understanding for a long time, and I haven't done a lot of other courses and things that are newer because I'm busy doing my own. So I can't tell you how this compares to so-and-so's program, or, you know, this course or anything like that specifically. But what I can say, and this is the root of this question, it's not about how they compare. I mean, we can compare features and stuff. The root of the essence of this question is, I've been looking in this direction for a little bit, and I don't think I get what's really available. Like, I don't feel remarkably freer, or I haven't seen things the way it seems other people have. Should I keep looking in this direction? Like, why would I do your school when these other things didn't show it to me? And I'm going to post the link here when I finish this, but I did an Ask Amy. One of the Ask Amy questions just so happened to be the question that came in over the weekend that I answered on Monday, was about this exactly. And I really recommend you watch that, because I think I think it landed. A lot of people commented on it. And I think the way I shared that there was helpful. But I'll just say, this understanding, like if you have been around it for a while and it hasn't, and you don't feel major shifts, like life kind of looks the same. The question I answered Monday on Ask Amy was, life still looks very scary even though I know all this. And I know it seems like that, and I mean this with all due respect, because it's not about us getting it. It's not like that person didn't study enough or open themselves enough. They did nothing wrong. But if life still looks scary, there's a whole lot more to see. If you've been looking and you don't feel a lot freer, there's just a whole lot more to see. That's it. There's a whole lot more for me to see. There's a whole lot more for everyone to see. So it's not that anything's wrong. It's not that you've done anything wrong, or those didn't work and this will, or any of that. None of that at all. It's just that this is an ongoing exploration. Like, we are looking at big things. Like, what is the source of my whole experience in life? And who am I beyond that experience in life? I mean, we are looking at things that people have just glimpses into this, and they feel remarkably different at times. And other times, very often, normally, some of that is a slower build. You know, it's like we explore and stay in a conversation for years sometimes, and that's not a failure. This is not at all meant to be a quick fix, get an insight, whatever that is, get a quick insight, you're out of here. Not at all. It's one step. And to me, what will be absolutely be a lifelong exploration, a lifelong conversation. It already has been. I mean, I think we could all say that. I'm studying the Course in Miracles and all kinds of spiritual stuff when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And it would be very easy, and I'm sure I did this at the time, like, what am I getting wrong? Like, why don't I feel better? But it builds and it comes around like this spiral, and we keep seeing the same things, but more and more deeply, and it comes to life for us more and more deeply each time. So I'm going to put the link to that Ask Amy rather than use our time here for this. But I know that's a big question for a lot of people. And I don't think that, all I can say about comparing different courses and stuff is that everyone who shares this shares it in their own way, of course, right? Anyone who does anything does it in their own way. And I think there's so much value in listening to how different people point toward the same truth. Huge value in that, because everyone has unique flavor and uses different stories and things. And sometimes, all the time really, people just really hear it more easily from some teachers and not so much from others. I'm sure lots of people don't resonate with my style, and so they go to someone else. That's a beautiful thing. I'm really grateful for that. So, if you've tried other things, then maybe just hear it from someone else. That brought up another question. Let me see which one I have here, though. Okay, so let me answer this one because this one is asked a lot. People want to know how there can be personal support when it is a group course with a few hundred people in it, typically. And it's a great question, right? I mean, that's a really common question, especially for people who are newer to this, like, why the group? And all the time I get questions with people saying, like, no, I need personal support. I need private coaching. I need personal conversations. And sometimes that's exactly what someone needs. But more often than not, I think that's what we think we need. It's what we're used to. It's the format that we're kind of used to out there. And it's maybe not what's best. So I can tell you that by far, way, 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 way better than any content that I've created, way better than even anything I share on our calls or even my coaching or any of that, the absolute best thing and the thing that makes the school the most effective is the community that's there, and the fact that people from all over the world with a variety of issues, again, remember the first question, like, how can this help people with so many different things? People that are seemingly so different on the surface in week one come together and start to see the health in their classmates, and then they start to see that they are designed exactly like their classmates. So they see, wow, like, I'm starting to get it, and I see how that person that thinks they're so caught up in this habit or this anxiety or this insecurity, I'm seeing how their mind just keeps telling them that. How, of course, it looks to them like that, and that's true, and of course that has consequences in their life, but the root of it is what matters. And really what's happening is not that they're insecure, not that they are too far gone or have this or have that. It's that they don't know, like, they're really tangled in their own experience, and we all are at times. It looks true and real and like us. So starting to get that sense of like, oh, this is just how minds work, all of them, and they spit out their own unique stories, but there's a universal nature to this beyond the surface of what the story's saying or what the feelings feel like. And we start to look there. And again, being in a container with a group of people, it's so, like, I almost think it's necessary. It's not necessary. One-on-one coaching is great, but it just facilitates it so much. It makes it so much easier because you're not just listening to me and we're not just pointing toward you, and it's not just about, it's not so personal. You start to see this wake up in so many people from all over the place, and it wakes it up in you. So the sharing that happens, and you don't have to share, but there's always a big subset of people that want to, and that's beautiful. The sharing that happens, the learning from other people, that by and large, it's no question, every single time it's the biggest thing. And people tell me that. They say, wow, when I saw Tammy in the last course have that massive insight and realize that she never had a habit to begin with, that it was just insecure habitual thinking or whatever, that did it for me. Like, so someone wakes up to this, and 10, 20, 30 other people wake up to their own version. And I think part of why that happens as well is that it's so much easier to see in other people. Like we don't, like I said earlier about blind spots, like I can't see my own blind spots. I don't see myself clearly. Who does? But I can see other people clearly, and like that's how it works. We can see how this is moving within them. And you're learning this foundation for how our experience is created, and you see it play out in all these people around you. And then just by deduction, like it's like, oh yeah, that's me too. And you start to see it in yourself more. But it's easier to listen when it's not you talking about your life and your problems sometimes. So this is another cool thing that I never would have guessed before I started this school, is that, like, let's say, some people are in there trying to stop binge eating. They get so much insight from someone over here who's caught up in anxiety, or someone over there who's caught up in procrastination. Because in a sense, this is what I'm thinking is happening. In a sense, they're like, okay, this isn't about binge eating. This isn't about me. I'll just listen. I'll just listen to them. And, because they are just like you, they start seeing through their own experience, and you see it, and you're not trying. Like your mind isn't in there thinking, oh, I need to get this. You're relaxed. And so much more gets through and lands with you more deeply. So again, the fact that this is a huge global community with a variety of issues and things in the beginning, at least, that's the benefit. It's the biggest, best thing about this, no question. And it's the most helpful. And people also want to know, how do I get personal support when, I'm going to take you guys on a walk because my battery's dying. How do I get personal support when you're going to get to see my house and we're getting new floors? Maybe I'm going to try to hide this from you because we have some construction happening. How do I get personal support when there's hundreds of people in this course? And first of all, you get all your questions answered on our calls, like I mentioned. All right, back in the familiar office. Second of all, even if you can't make the calls live, we have our private forum, like I mentioned, and myself, Amanda, and Terry are in there all the time, helping people in whatever time zone you're in, whenever you're up, we're kind of supporting you on that forum. And every single question, this is crazy that this is true, but every single question that someone has ends up getting addressed. Because if you can't make a call live, we have a thread on the forum where you can post your question and I will address it on your behalf, whether you're on the call or not. And then if our 90 minutes are up and I can't get to all the questions, what I do is I make a video. So I come in later, I have all the questions I couldn't get to, and I'll sit here in front of Zoom and make a half-hour, 2-hour video for you, getting through all those questions. So it's the way I've found to really be able to give that personal touch and that personal support that people think they really need, and sometimes do really need, even in the context of a group. That was kind of seamless how I just walked up here pretty easily. I was at 6%, and sometimes at 6% my laptop decides it's done. Hey, Jeannie, I'm excited to have you as part of the class. All right, Eve Marie, let me get to your question. How to see the difference between what I really want and what my mind wants? Good question. So here's what I want to say to that. Well, first, I'm curious why. Like why is there a difference? How do you not know the difference? And bigger than that, I'd say this is maybe one of those things. I mean, I'd be really curious to what your answer is as to why you think you need to see the difference and all that good stuff. But it's almost like when people ask, well, how do I know if I'm really hungry or if I'm just thinking I'm hungry? Or how do I know if I really want to be in this relationship or my habitual thinking just thinks I want to be in this relationship? And that's never something that we're going to think our way through for the most part, because what that's a reflection of is a bunch of thinking already, right? Do I want this? Do I not? Am I hungry? Am I not? Do I really want this? Does my mind really want this? Like just the fact that you asked the question, that you have that question, is showing us there's a lot of confusing thinking going on. And answers and clarity and solution don't really come from jumping in the middle of that confusing thinking and finding an answer. Like that's not really going to happen. It's like your mind's already going in a circle asking the questions and then trying to answer its own questions. So what's best to do is just kind of step out of that mess. And so often, like, let's just use the hungry example because it's a really easy, clear one. If you aren't sure if you're hungry, you're not that hungry. And if you walk away and wait, at some point you probably will be hungry enough and you'll be sure, you'll just go eat. So it's kind of that thing of like letting life live you rather than you in your head in there trying to figure out, what does this mean and what does that mean? And that really is, it sounds minor, and maybe it isn't for you, Eva Marie, but it sounds kind of minor as we talk about it, but this isn't so much of life where we're just confused, and confused almost even feels like too strong a word. Like, we just have a lot of thinking, and it's about A is right and A is wrong. Like, that's how our mind works. It tells us opposites all the time. And we get kind of tangled in that, and the misunderstanding is that we need to figure that out, that it's on us to sort through that and figure it out, that if our mind is asking questions, we need to give it answers, that clarity is going to come when we get clear on, like it's our responsibility, like we get clear or we think our way through it or whatever that might look or sound like. And that's not really how it works. Like, I think clarity is our nature. Life lives us. So when we're confused, what that means is not that life is confusing or there's a real actual problem to solve. But I think most of the time, maybe all the time, when we're confused, life is living us, but our mind is over here saying, why is life living me that way? I thought life was supposed to live me this way. No, what about this? What about that? Do I want this? Does my mind just want this? So that's where the confusion, that's where the lack of clarity comes from, is just by a mind running itself in circles. And that's what we start to see so much in the school, and by walking through this is, yeah, that's what minds do. They ask questions and then they try to answer their own questions. And it is confusing. It is very circular and it doesn't make sense a lot of the time. But it's not a reflection on you or your life or any of that. And that's what really starts to help, is we get less involved in all of that thinking and it just starts to die down. It's very similar to what I was saying earlier about just really seeing, oh, there's like a blueprint I can kind of feel into for how we work. It takes so much off your mind. Things look simpler, and a lot of those why and why this and why that and why me questions, they just become irrelevant. And if they're still there, you just don't worry about them in the same way. All right, let me see if there's any other questions. Thank you for that question, and thank you guys for being here and for everything. So I'm going to come back to this post over the next few days, well, over the next day, I suppose, until enrollment closes. If you watch this later, if you're catching this after the fact and you have questions, you can email me, you can reach out anyway, you can message me, or you can put them here and I will see them here, and I'll be here to address your questions and answer them, again, on this thread or anywhere you send them to me. So thank you guys so much for being here and for putting up with me being all over the place this week, for coming to the webinars, for checking out the 4-part video series, for all the emails you've sent and the questions, and for all the people who have joined the school so far. I'm just so thrilled. So I feel so blessed to get to share this, honestly. And every single time, this is kind of embarrassing, but every single time, a new person joins and I see that order come through, and I'm writing my little cards to you. If you haven't gotten your cards yet, you will. Check your mail. I'm just so grateful. I just say a little like, thank you. Please help this person hear what I'm saying. Help them see where I'm pointing them, because it's in you. It's not about me as the pointer. It's not about my words. It's like, please let this person be ready to just hear and take all of this in. And I know that if you're listening and if you've joined the school, you are ready and you do want it. And there's absolutely nothing that you could ever have or not have that could prevent you from it. This is a equal opportunity understanding. And just by being open and curious and taking this leap and looking in this direction with me, you're already going to start seeing things. So I'm just so personally grateful that I get to share this in the way I do. this school. People who know me, this is like Christmas for me, even though I get it twice a year. I just love this so much. I'm so grateful for all that you've done so far, all of you who have joined. And if you still have questions about anything, just reach out and let me know. I'd love to help you. So thank you so much for listening, and hopefully I'll see you inside the school. Bye, guys.